Molweni, good morning. My name is Nwabisa Makunga, the editor of the Sowetan. It's a beautiful Thursday morning in Johannesburg. Welcome to the Sowetan Women's Club engagement, the first of many engagements that we hope to have in this brand, in this platform. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to everybody who's on our channels. Today I'm very excited. We're having a conversation that I think is worth our while. I'm joined by finance guru, financial literacy champion, Palesa Lengolo, who is also the author of the book Stokvels. We're talking a very basic thing. How do we stretch our rand? We're all in lockdown. We're all trying to figure out what do we do. We're all expecting fewer income for the next couple of months or so. So what do we do with the challenges that we are facing at the moment? Palesa, thank you so much for joining us this one. How are you doing?
Hi, Nwabisa. Thank you for having me. I'm good under the circumstances.
I know. I know it's like what, day 27, 28? I've lost count of this whole lockdown situation.
Me too. I've stopped counting. I've just surrendered.
Look, let's start off with this. As I've said before, we are facing a very unpredictable time. A lot of people are anxious, and rightfully so, about their money. What are we going to do? And I just want to find out first, based on the knowledge that you have, what is it that about our attitudes about money, particularly us as women, that have either prepared us for this moment or have made us completely ill-prepared for the challenge in which we find ourselves?
I think firstly is the fact that there's belief that we are big spenders, and sometimes we don't track our finances the way we're supposed to be doing. Yeah. But also there's also the other side where actually women are financial managers of household from way back. Women are the ones that take care of what's needed in a house and allocate certain monies for activities and wants and needs within the house. So in a way, those two areas, they conflict with each other. And what I've seen now is that women are more leaning into taking control of the finances, or whether it's in business or whether it's in a household. Women are becoming more confident about their money.
You talk about taking control of our finances. So let's move it back to an individual. So let's say I was working and perhaps I'm expecting my income to drop because of the lockdown in the next couple of months or so, and I'm really needing some assistance. There's been a lot that has been said by government, by business about relief. What do I do? What is my first step? Which door do I knock on first? If you think about, I'm in debt, my car perhaps is about to be taken, the landlord is knocking on my door, and I'm really, really battling. Where do I go to first?
You go to a place that knows your financial status no matter what, whether we like it or not. That is the bank. They know how much was coming in all along all these past months, how much goes out. So they, in a way, already have a system for you for your finances, or of where they go and the inflows and the outflows. So the first thing obviously would be the first contact would be the bank. But before going to the bank, you need to put your take out your financial file, which I hope everybody does have, even if it's digital, hopefully not only in the mind also, when now you are scrutinizing and checking everything that is financially related, whether it's bank statement, insurances, see who you should be contacting relating those things. I think the easiest thing to look at would be the bank statement to see what's your commitments in terms of your payments, and then you start seeing, okay, I pay this landlord via this, so I need to communicate with them this way. Or I pay the bank this, I pay the insurance this, so I must call them. So for me, the most important thing right now is communicating and not just waiting to see what's going to happen. Better be prepared by putting things in place at least by starting by communicating, also asking the questions if you are employed, asking your employer what is the plan in terms of finances and things like that.
I mean, okay, so you talk about going to a bank, which obviously in itself, it makes sense. But there's an article in the Sowetan today, funny enough, where somebody says we must all be aware of, yes, we may go and ask for relief for this period, right? But we must also be aware of perhaps the long-term impact of the holidays, payment holidays, or kind of relief that we may be getting at this moment. So what should we look out for if I'm going to a bank or I'm going to whatever financial institution to ask for some sort of relief or help? What should I be looking for in terms of the long run? How may that hit me in the long run?
So it's very important to scrutinize even what the bank is offering. That's why it's so important to have these conversations. That's why it's so important to be financially literate and financially educated, not necessarily formally, but just keeping yourself informed in what's happening right now. And knowing, like, for example, with the payment holidays, asking the right questions when you do get to the bank, and how is it going to affect you? Is the interest going to be capitalized? Is my term going to be extended because I'm taking this? And then making an informed decision from there, even if it's really worth it. Then comparing it into things like credit life. I have credit? Have I been paying for credit? So unfortunately, some banks won't necessarily come to you and say, hey, you got covered here. You're gonna have to take the initiative of asking about and seeing which option is gonna be better for you. Do you really have no option in order to take the payment holiday? There is a credit life which can pay your debts up to 12 months. So you need to see which one you have and how much of are you in a corner in order to see, and knowing the disadvantages and advantages of each.
I mean, I was actually going to say a lot of us.
So for me, that is.
Please go ahead. Okay, you can go ahead.
But so for me, the most important. Sorry.
Go ahead, Siso.
So for me, those are the two most important things in payment holidays. When you are gonna take a payment holiday, which I think, in my opinion, should be the last option, is make sure that there is no other alternative that you have researched or looked at, and you really are in a corner, and you are aware that there is still charges that you're gonna be paying, and the fact that your debt now will be longer, which means it will be a bit more expensive in the long run. But there's also a smart way of doing payment holiday. You know that you will take only maybe the 3-month pay holiday. Then when you are fine, when you have like a windfall, maybe like a lump sum, you pay back all the interest that you incurred during the payment holiday, in a way getting you back where you were initially. So, but if you're gonna just take it and then after the payment holiday you just continue, then you have made an expensive choice. While also taking a payment holiday would also be under the assumption that you don't have a credit life, which would be the first option to explore in asking, I do have credit life, I've been paying for it, what are the terms and conditions, and I would like to use them.
When you mention, you talk about credit life, which is important, but I think, and this is not necessarily a question, I think it's a comment, that this entire process is really forcing us to scrutinize our money. I mean, a lot of us sometimes become very blasé, right, about what comes in versus what comes out. As long as my expenses are paid, I'll kind of live from month to month. So this is really, in my view, is forcing us to pick up a habit where we scrutinize basically our what comes in, what comes out, and how and when, and all of that. How do we gain confidence in doing so?
For me, I would say this is an opportunity to make time to actually do that. Give yourself a homework where you are doing a financial checklist or cleanup or spring cleaning. For me, the easiest checklist would be checking things like your subscriptions. What are you subscribed to? You know, those small money that you don't necessarily see when they are getting out of your bank account. That's where actually, if one of the places you can start stretching your rent. You know, you've been paying this 200 rand for some subscription that you don't even read, for example. That is the expense that you can save from. Checking things like your what you are, if you really need a type of entertainment. Right now is also to reflect on what you really need. You know, when you are, they say you must differentiate between wants and need. There has never been a better time to actually know what is needs. Like, we were doing actually a financial checklist with one of my clients, and they were actually saying they're going to stick to their needs for a while, and whatever they are saving now, they're actually going to be paying it towards that, because they actually can see that they actually can live with some things and they are fine. And this is discovered during this a lockdown. So when you check what you really don't need, that would be some kind of saving and in the spending that you've been doing. So a financial checklist is a must.
Okay, so okay, fine. I hear you, right? I really do. But you talk about financial checklists. So if you look at this time, a lot of us are at home, right? So there's a change perhaps in our spending patterns. So for example, you know, my transport costs will probably be less this month versus, you know, the amount of money that I usually spend when I go out and that kind of thing. Do you think that there is a way in which we could kind of track now what our spending patterns are, and if there are habits to be picked up, particularly when it comes to savings? Like if you look at it, for example, a lot of parents, a lot of moms are complaining that they're spending more money on food because, wow, the bundles and the fridge, you know. So how do we pick up you know, good habits from the change in our spending in this current time, things that we can actually learn and take out you know, post COVID-19?
So unfortunately, because now all that saving that you were doing, maybe from transport and all the things that you did when you were free, it's all additional to now to grocery spending, for example. But you need to be very numeric about it in terms of, okay, I was spending 1,000 in transport or petrol. Now I'm going to take that 1,000 rand and put it towards households like groceries and electricity, because now we are sitting. But you have to be very intentional about it, and in terms like that. If your household budget for grocery and electricity was 2,000, but when before the lockdown, and now you have an extra 1,000 to put on top of that, putting that into groceries will relieve a bit of your household groceries. But now also smarting shopper. For example, a lot of people have also noticed the fact that all of a sudden prices have gone up. Things that some people wouldn't have noticed if we were not spending so much in groceries. Now you have to evaluate where you're shopping, what brands you are buying, what things are really worth it, in terms of, do I really need this brand instead of this one? And is this within my budget? So I need to go a bit lower. I need to change shops. I need to replace this with this. So the trick is to to shop smarter, and know where you are, and make sure that saving that you are saving in inverted commas, that you are taking from an activity that you are not using at the moment, really is adding value to your adding in the budget that you are currently utilizing. So you can't be, if you're saving 2,000 and now all of a sudden your your groceries is way more than that. You're gonna have to spend within that grocery thing, and it all comes to smart shopping smartly, but also again communicating with your household on the importance of the use, especially with kids, of using household goods sparingly because of how everything, because mommy or daddy, we are going through this and it's affecting our finances, and this way also touches on the money conversation we should be having with the kids.
I actually want to pick up on that, but if I may, there's quite an interesting question that's coming up. A lot of people, I understand, have bankers, right? It relates to what you said earlier about going to a bank and actually having a conversation with somebody. Yes, a lot of people do have bankers, personal bankers, you want to call it that. However, not many of us do. Who do you talk to the bank? So if you go to the bank and you're like saying, you know, I need help. I've got a question here from Tamara asking, but who do we speak to? She would like to speak to somebody who she can trust, not only with her own finance, but with the knowledge of what she ought to do. So who's basically the best person to speak to at the bank if you are wanting some sort of relief?
So it depends on the financial product that you want relief from. Let's say you want relief from your home loan. So when you go to the bank, you're going to have to ask for a home loan consultant or a home loan specialist within the bank. You can't go to a teller or inquiries. You have to specifically speak to a home loan specialist within the bank and tell them what is your situation, and and most of the time in the banks you have to actually verbalize that I heard of credit line. Can you please check if it's there? Because most of the time, unfortunately, it won't come automatically from the person who's helping you. Yes, they're supposed to, but if it doesn't, that's why information is so important. If it doesn't, make sure you are the one who is bringing it up. I want a 3-month holiday. I saw you guys advertising 1, 2, 3. I want to know how will I, as your customer, benefit from it. I want to know the advantages and the disadvantage of it. So the first contact would be the home loan specialist or the home loan consultant. And if you want further than that, which a lot of people don't take advantage of, within some branches, there's also financial advisors are ready for you to help you with your finances within there, free of charge, because you are the customer of that certain bank.
Palesa, let's talk. Your book is about Stokvels, right? So let's talk Stokvels. Is this the time to pull out of my Stokvel? Look, if I'm needing an extra cash and I'm like, look, you know, that 500 Rand that I put every month, I don't think I can afford it. Is this the time to pull out? How do we manage our relationships in terms of Stokvels at this time?
I actually think it's the most exciting time for Stockhouse. There's two ways of looking at it. First of all, within Stockhouse, the lending Stockhouse must be thriving, because now you are lending each other within the Stockhouse. You don't have to go to any financial institution, and the whole point of a Stockhouse is a community that helps each other. So it's very rare that all of you, 10 of you, are financially strained at the same time. So usually it would be a few of you and the others would be able to help others. So I feel like it's a chance for people within the Stockhouse to actually help those who are more financially strained than others. For example, if you are in a Stockhouse and you're all employed, but some of you gonna get maybe half of their salaries or less than their salaries, but some of you are going to be on them, you can actually put it in writing that you guys are going to be helping. The ones that are still fine can continue with their contributions, and the ones that are not, you are able to actually also operate like the bank, to give them a contribution holiday, as per se, where they'll be able to now pay back that money interest free, their contribution. They can contribute after the 3 months to their Stockhouse. That's the first advantage. And then the second advantage would be lending each other the Stockhouse contributions to those that are maybe going to be retrenched, or those that are financially strained within that, because these are some of the things that are a purpose of a Stockvel, and are usually within the constitution that as members, we are a community that assist each other, and usually retrenchment and unemployment and sickness are usually and death are usually four core things that are unforeseen, that are supposed to be under a normal constitution of a Stockvel. So if you do use your Stockvel smartly, and hopefully you are with really great people in the group, I think it should be an alternative within assistance of each other.
Okay, don't laugh, no, but by my my knowledge of or rather experience of Stockhouse is really kind of, we put a little bit of money here and there, and then, you know, at some point in December, only then, you know, socially grocery type of thing. But generally, in your understanding, do Stockhouse have reserves, you know, quite substantial amount of money that people can tap into at this time, to basically fulfill what the suggestions that you're making for?
Well, they're supposed to look, traditionally Stockvels back then, they were, and there are still now, those that were just sole purpose was just to put money, and then in December to come and just share it or go buy groceries. But we Stockvels, because they are getting, one of the reasons that I wrote the book is actually how to use this traditional old model in a modern, futuristic way, to help modern and solve modern problems. So one of the things that we can learn out of this is the fact that when you are in a Stockvel, you need some kind of cash flow, you need reserves. As much as we encourage investing and going after opportunities collectively with the contributions of the Stockvel, you need to reserve some cash also for unforeseen and emergencies within the Stockvel. In my book, I actually have a template on how to budget within the Stockvel, and it entails a part where you are saying you need reserves or emergencies on what would happen. For example, if somebody loses somebody within the Stockvel, somebody dies within the Stockvel, but it's not the member, maybe they're a child, but you want to help them, you can take some of that reserves and use them for that. So there's a lot of things that having reserves can help with. So it can be a lesson to Stockvel members that don't have reserves yet, that things like this do happen, and when they do happen, it's better to have reserves. We need to operate Stockvels the modern way now, where they're adapting to the problems that we face, and they must come up with solutions.
I've got a question actually from Tamara again, asking, you know, how she can join a Stockvel, and perhaps if I may just kind of expand on that. What are the things we should look out for, you know, for Stockvels that are solid? I mean, you spoke about constitution and that kind of thing. How do you find one, and but also what should you look out for? That's, you know, that's to say this one is solid, it's legit, let me join.
I always say the best Stockvel to join is the one you start yourself. So because Stockvel is about people, you are the one who knows your people. You know which ones would have the same visions, you know which ones would are in the same maybe income affordability in order to reach a certain goal that you want to achieve through the Stockvel. So if you already thinking of you want to join a Stockvel, the first question should be, why do you want to join the Stockvel? Do you want to invest? Then who do you think you would invite to join the Stockvel? Who do you know that is able to maybe put away money for a long time without the temptation of going out? If you want to join Stockvel for traveling, who do you know that really loves traveling and seeing the world? Then it starts with you before saying how do you join the Stockvel. Then if you really then you can't find people that are within your vision, and you have seen Stokvels that you think you'd like to join, fit in, it's very important to do your homework and your due diligence, because we know within the Stokvel industry there are scams. So you would need to check out if the Stokvel is legit. You would need to ask for their constitution, even if it's just the basics. You check out if they're registered, if they're using financial service providers that are registered, and if their money is being put in legit opportunities, and everything is above board. They use professionals to conduct their business, and they take themselves seriously. It's not just a social thing. And if you're looking for that kind of a Stokvel, then you need to do a bit of homework, especially with Stockhouse. There's a lot of red flags to look out for. So you can't just say, oh my gosh, that's a property Stockhouse, I want in. You have to look at the basics: constitution, money, registration, type of professionals they're using, everything legal. So that's what I would say in terms of joining a Stockhouse.
Okay, we've got 4 minutes to go, but I really want to ask this conversation, because I think question, because I think it's very important for this conversation. As women, many of us are mothers. We walk this journey, this finance journey, with our kids. And you mentioned earlier about having a conversation with children, about don't literally live in the fridge and all of those things. But seriously, what conversations should we be having about, with our children, particularly when they see that mom is struggling here, and for them, there's a lot of anxiety. What do we say to kids at this time about money, to make them feel empowered and to make them feel that, look, this is basically the journey that we are walking?
Actually, financial education for kids should be part of their school. But since we're not there, I say you can introduce it gradually to your kids. Maybe like during homework times, come up with maybe a financial tip on how to do. The easiest ones right now you can do would be having those money conversation of kids knowing that there is abundance of money, but sometimes it does run out. I always make this example of kids learn from you anything, and with by you how you act more than what you say. So even with money, you have to do the same thing. You have to show them that I have money now, and now I don't have it. The practical example that I'm going to do quickly, that I gave a tip to one of my friends, her little girl always at the mall would want everything, and she wouldn't understand the fact that money does run out. And I think you need to make your kids understand that money do run out. It doesn't come from trees. So each one had their little purse, gave the coins and the 10 rands, and she also had it. So we're gonna go to the thing, whatever you want, you're gonna get, but you're gonna get it from your own purse. I'm also gonna buy from my own purse. So every time she said, I want chocolate, she would take it. I want this, she would take it from there. I'm like, take it from there. And then eventually she wanted things, and her coins were already finished. Like, oh, mommy, my money is finished. I'm like, oh my gosh, you see, money does run out, but you still have, because I only bought 2 things. So now when they do go to a mall, she'd be like, oh, mommy, do you think I still have enough to do this? Oh, I don't want to finish my money, because she has physically seen that money does run out and you need to use it sparingly. That is the most important thing you can give your children, that if it's all in the spending, just like with adults, before anything else, you need to monitor your spending before saving, before investing. It all starts with the spending.
Okay. We literally are running out of time, but I really, if you will allow me to squeeze in this last question. And it's from Chris, and Chris is asking about Stokvels. He says, we've got a Stokvel, but ours is just 100% funeral burial with no investment. Can you advise us on how to invest in the Stokvel market during this time?
So I always, when people ask you where to invest, I always want to ask these questions. You need to figure out, that's the wrong question to ask. You need to figure out your members, if their risk appetite, how long they're willing to put their money away, And if they are also interested, all of them, to actually investing, or they're just okay with the funeral Stokvel. And also remember, most of the time, financial products for Stokvel already include the funeral covers as an added benefit. So maybe if you can start there first and figure out those two things first by asking your members the term, the risk appetite, and then look for a financial product that does cover the Stokvel on top of whatever you're going to be deciding for you. For me, I wouldn't say where to invest your money. You need to find out the risk appetite first. You need to find out how long you are willing to do, and most importantly, how much you are willing to invest in, and still have reserves for other opportunities or emergencies.
But I presume there are obviously opportunities. Yes, one must do their homework, but there are opportunities, for example, in the stock market, at the JSE and those kinds of things. There are opportunities for people to invest using stock.
In my book, they're all there. And there's different types of financial products you can invest in, the JSE, other alternative investment, and even your normal investments, like there's tuck shop or the spaza shop in your location can be an investment too, but you need to do it professionally and use professional and experts to be to do like a proper valuation and help. So what I always say with Stokvels is that in order for you to make a real impact and see the returns of your contributions, you have to use professionals to help you whatever asset you want to invest in. If you want to invest in property, make sure you get a property expert. If you want to invest in the markets, make sure you get a wealth manager, a financial advisor. And that way you know you are doing it right, because it's not just your money, it's everybody's money. So make sure everybody's protected.
Palesa, you really are going to punish me, but there's one more question, if we could, from Samantha. She's really asking, picking up from what you said, about starting your own Stockvel, and she's asking, is there any kind of legal implication with starting your own Stockvel?
Stockvel become illegal the minute you do illegal activities. So it's not illegal to start a Stockvel, but make sure when you do start a Stockvel, you put everything is on board. You do because it's not regulated. Yes, there's NASASA, National Stockvel Association of South Africa, that are mandated by the Reserve Bank to look after Stockvels. So you make sure you get all the right advices, constitution, at least some form of legal help, finances, some kind of financial education or financial expertise, type of people, those dynamics, they all need to be above board. It's starting a Stockvel right now in this day and age needs to be operated like you are opening a business. So follow the same steps that you would do when you are opening a business, except now it's going to now be like you are finding partners to this business. So you do need the same people that are within this, have the same mission, the same vision, and great documentation, great technology, and everything that will make your Stockvel professional. You can start it yourself. You can start it just the two or the three of you, and then once it sees gelling, get other people to join that you trust. So it's definitely legal in South Africa. Actually, the Stockvel economy is 50 billion, so it's legal. But make sure you do it right, because they are prone to scams, because scammers know that you guys are contributing and collecting this money.
We have run out of time, but I think let's do this. I think there's a lot of questions that people may have for you. So what we're going to do at the end of this broadcast, we're going to put your contact details and where people can actually get your book. And if there are any other questions that are coming through in the next couple of hours, I'm more than happy for you to answer them, and then we'll publish them on Sowetan Live, as well as our platform on the Sowetan Women's Club. I think this is really important. You've absolutely been awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I love your work. I love what you do. I love the education that you do in this country. So thank you so much from myself, Nwabisa Makunga. Thank you guys for joining us. And Palesa, goodbye, sis. Thank you. Mwah. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Happy financial wellness.
Thank you. Sure.